The longest transfer saga of the January transfer window is finally over. Welcome to Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes. Yes, it's done, signed, sealed and delivered in the red of Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes is ours. It's been a long time coming, and I just hope and I pray and I'm confident that it's worth the wait. Some will say it should have been done in the summer. It should have been done at the beginning of the month. It should have been done weeks ago. But it is done, and that is the most important thing. For 4.5 years, he is our player. Signed on a £70,000 a week base deal, and of course there's add-ons when it comes to appearances and goal bonus. But for that kind of value, I think we've got a player. We have got a player on our hands. 70,000 a week in this market, in this climate. Where do you get? Lingard's on 100. Callum Hudson-Odoi's on 100. 70,000 a week for Bruno Fernandes. And it's been good business. It's been good business, financially speaking. It's just taken way too long. But I'm not going to go over that. I spoke about it in a previous video. We're going to talk about the fact that he is here and what this deal means for Manchester United. So first and foremost, the deal itself, the total value is actually potentially worth 80 million euros, which is 67.6 million pounds. That's the fee that Sporting Lisbon wanted. They wanted, of course, that up front. Man United have negotiated and took very long to do so, but negotiated part up front and part in instalments. So it's 55 million euros up front, which is 46.5 million pounds. And 5 million add-ons, which is based on a number of club appearances, 5 million based on a qualification for Champions League, and 15 million if he wins the Ballon d'Or. So you would say 10, well 5 is pretty much guaranteed, 5 million euros add-ons. 5, I mean, you'd hope that by signing a player of his quality, as well as hopefully others, we will qualify for the Champions League. So 10 million euros additional is what they will say is easily achievable, realistic, and 15 million euros is much more difficult. Some might say impossible in terms of him actually winning the Ballon d'Or. If in the end we pay the 80 million euros, it means we've got a very, very good player on our hands if he goes on to win the Ballon d'Or. But overall, 68 million pounds is good business, potentially. And there's also actually a 10% sell-on fee that's Sporting now. So they did well as well. A good deal to present to their fans. The fact that they can get 10 million when we sell him on. Now, he's 25 years old. I'm not planning on selling him on anytime soon. I hope that he can be an unrivaled success. His contract is 4.5 years, so to the end of the 2024 season with an option for the additional year, which will take it to 5.5 years. He'll be 30 plus. How much are you going to get for him at that age if we were to sell him at that stage? But as I said, it's not something I'm planning. Playing the Premier League has always been one of his dreams. We've had other players who have come from Sporting, the likes of Ronaldo, Nani, Rojo, who also dreamt of playing the Premier League. But in Ronaldo's case, his long-term ambition was to play for Real Madrid, so of course he went on. But he joined much younger. I can't see us, if it's a successful signing, I can't see us selling on Bruno Fernandes anytime soon. So what does he offer us? Why are we buying it? I mean, if we saw the Carabao Cup second leg and plenty games this season, we saw Jesse Lingard in that number 10 position, unable to do the job of a number 10, i.e. create and score goals. And he has failed to do that on countless times this season. He was subbed off. Andreas Pereira came on and he was tasked with that same role, and he's unable to do that. And he's failed to do that on countless occasions this season. that is the role, and that's the reason why we are buying Bruno Fernandes, because we need some creativity and we need some goals in from our midfield, especially in that number 10 position that Solskjaer likes to play. When Solskjaer first joined, he played a 4-3-3, and now he's moved to a 4-2-3-1. Bruno Fernandes can play either. He plays both for Sporting, depending on the formation. He's played in a central midfield for Portugal, especially in the Nations League. He's done that. But his best position, and I guess the reason why he's costing what he is because of his output from a number 10 position. Last season, 20 goals, 13 assists in the league. This season already, he's got 8 goals and 7 assists in 17 appearances. Those are phenomenal numbers for any midfielder. Yes, you'll say it's the Portuguese league, etc., etc., but the Portuguese league is ranked the next best league outside the top 5. Obviously, England, Spain, Germany, Italy, and France. Portugal are the next best, ahead of the Dutch league and others. He also has performed in the Europa League, a competition that Man United are in, and he's also performed for Portugal. So I believe that he's shown that he can do it at the highest level. Of course, the question is, how can he do it consistently at the highest level? And it will take, I'm sure, a time of adaptation. But that's the kind of player we are buying. He's a captain. He was, shall I say, the captain of Sporting Lisbon. So he's a leader, and that's Man United has been accused of lacking leaders in our squad. So he's definitely a leader on and off the field. He'll definitely give his all and expect and charge his colleagues of to give 110% every time they step onto that field for Manchester United. And the team was built around him. You know, most of the attacks went through him. Will the team be built around him at Manchester United? Well, it all depends on the other person that we have, how long Pogba stays, and the style that Solskjaer wants to play. But as a number 10, our aim should be to get the ball to him and let him dictate the play. Now, he's not, you might say, a Mesut Ozil type of number 10. He's more in the Frank Lampard mode, or maybe something in between, where he will create goals. He will, drop deep. He can drop deep, spray long passes. He can obviously push further up, make late runs into the box. His movement and his ability to find space is probably his best attribute, other than, of course, his ability to score goals. But making those late runs into the box, or just pulling off the defender and picking up space outside the box, is one of his best traits. And he usually likes to operate from the right-hand side of the area. And it would be a dream. It would be a dream. It might be nothing more than that if I can see him and Pogba playing the team together. And we know how Pogba likes to operate from the left-hand side, central left-hand side, and Bruno Fernandes operating from the right central side. I think that could be brilliant. That could be brilliant. And that may only be short-lived. We only get a few months of it before Pogba jets off to somewhere in Europe in the summer. But even if I could just see that for a few games, and it might be a case of what might have been, I would love to see it this season. Pogba needs quality players around him to show his ability that he shows for France, that he's shown for Juventus, and he has shown in spurts for us as well. And if we can get Bruno Fernandes and him in the same side, our aspirations for the season could massively increase. From that right hand side, he can cut in, he can shoot, he can also cross, and his set pieces actually are another massive attribute for him. And we seem to have a massive problem with set pieces, especially corners, getting them to our own players, beating the first man, not going too long. We've really struggled. You think it's a set piece, how hard can it be? But we've really struggled. So you hope that he could improve us, and we can pick up some goals from set pieces, because there's always another way. There's always an avenue of getting goals, especially in difficult games where chances are few and far between. You need to maximise your ability to create chances and score goals. But yes, as I said, he can play in the number 8, dropping deep, box to box. playing long diagonals and switching the play. And he also can play in at number 10. I suspect Solskjaer's going to play in at number 10, other than because of injury. But even then, I would expect, obviously there's Fred. We know Matic is suspended for the Wolves game. But there's Fred, there's Pereira, who has played in the central midfield. Injuries aside, there's McTominay. So when he does play, I want to see him in that number 10 position. I want to see us get the best out of him, especially adapting to the new league. Put him in the central midfield and ask him to instantly get up to the pace of the game. We've seen that it's taken Fred a year. If we're looking for an instant impact, put him in his best position. And if you want to experiment, you can do that over the summer, during pre-season, etc. Even though it's probably going to be a bit of a short one because of the Euros. But yeah, I think in that number 10 position, as I said, he can make the late runs into the box, getting on the end of things and scoring goals with either foot. But he can also pull back from the defence and pick out passes, passing wide to the wingers. And I think it's so important that when we have that creative pivot in that position, that our wide players stay wide. We know Daniel James will always do that on the right side. Rashford, when he does play, obviously he's more likely to come inside. But you can come inside from a wide position. You stay wide. You can allow Bruno Fernandes that area in front of behind the striker to operate. If everyone comes inside, bunched up in the middle, there's not much room for him to do his magic. So you stay wide, and then you cut in, you make runs into the box, which he can find. I'm just thinking, Chelsea used to have that with Robin and Duff, and they're both wingers, and they played wide, and then they cut in. Especially Robin, of course, cutting in on his left foot from the right hand side. But it's so important that we keep that width and occupy the defenders. If you have too much people in the one space in the middle, then the defenders have less work to do. You keep them wide. You create the spaces that Bruno Fernandes can operate in and slip in balls inside the fullbacks and the centre backs. I don't expect to see him in a double pivot because he's not great defensively. I mean, it's not his job. He has played it when he was at Udinese and Sampdoria. He had played it, but as I said, that's not why we spend the money on him. It's really not. So I don't really expect him to see him there. And finally, it's the movement in front of him. That is going to really determine how effective he can be. I just think about Mesut Ozil. When Mesut Ozil was at Real Madrid and he had Ronaldo, Di Maria, Benzema running off him at pace, he was able to find them at will. At Arsenal, he's always looked best when he's had pace running off him. And I expect Bruno Fernandes to be similar in that regard. You always want people running off you so you can slip them in, put the ball on a sixpence into their feet, in front of them, on their head, whatever it may be. The movement from the forwards, especially Martial, and I'll say Martial because he's the number 9. I expect him to be operating directly in front of Bruno Fernandes, and his movement has been questioned, and rightly so. It's not always good, especially since Rashford's been injured. Something has gone from his game, and he needs to find it back. Maybe he needs that link up, and he needs to create an understanding with other players, and hopefully he can create an understanding with Bruno Fernandes, knowing when to run, where to run, what spaces to operate in. Is going to be so crucial. That work rate is going to be very, very important if we're going to get the best out of Bruno Fernandes. And as it stands, we get good results against the big sides. The small sides where we're struggling to break down and unlock the defences is where we're dropping a lot of our silly points. Why we're not in the top 4 as it stands. If we're being serious, we've dropped points against Newcastle away from home, Burnley at home, Crystal Palace at home. Just a couple off the top of my head. We've dropped silly points where you're thinking if we had a bit more creativity, Aston Villa at home, if we had a bit more creativity, break down that side, turn 1 point into 2. Turn 1 point into 3, so 2 extra points, or turn a loss into a draw. And Bruno Fernandes I hope, especially this season, and of course going forward, but this season in the immediacy, can help us pick up those points and unlock those defenses that sit back on the edge of the area. Because we expect that to happen. It's always, they know that's been a problem for Man United. So people set up like that, knowing they can get a good result playing like that. We have someone who can unlock the defence, and he shows that from the off. They have to think twice. Well, we can't just sit back, because in the end they're going to break us down. Look at Man City. People try and come up with different formations, different tactics, because they know that in the end, if you just sit back, they're going to break you down. And that's where it needs to be for us. We need to start breaking down, unlocking these low blocks. So teams say, this ain't going to work. We need to do something else. We need to make them think twice, as opposed to us thinking twice about them. But Bruno Fernandes, welcome to Manchester United. And I hope and I pray that the next 4.5 years and beyond are as, if not more successful than your time at Sporting Lisbon. Guys, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know your comments on this signing for Manchester United below. And I'll see you soon.